Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great night. I am going to make this video because I said I was going to do it earlier. I was going to do it a lot as a live, but I did not want anybody to crash the party. So I found this news article that is going to give hope to people on the transplant waiting list. Now it's still in early trials, and I only know one person that's doing it right now. We'll get to that. But there is a part where I am probably going to be cursing for a few seconds or criticizing somebody. So trigger warning. So this is what we are going to do. I am going to show you this article, which I think is really cool. And I hope I get the right one. So here we go. So I am going to read this out. And I have to start at the beginning because I was reading it now. The first ever pig to human heart transplant offers hope for thousands in need of organs. A Maryland man has lived for 3 days with a pig heart beating inside his chest. The surgery at the University of Maryland Medical Center marks the first time a gene edited pig has been used as an organ donor. Dave Bennett, 57, agreed to be the first to risk the experimental surgery, hoping it would give him a shot at making it home to his Maryland duplex and his beloved dog, Lucky. This is nothing short of a miracle, said his son David. His son David said Sunday, 2 days after his father's life extending surgery. That's what my dad needed, and that's what I feel like he got. In the 9-hour surgery, doctors replaced his heart with one from a 1-year-old, 240-pound pig gene edited and bred specifically for this purpose. Bennett is breathing on his own without a ventilator, though he remains on an ECMO machine that does about half the work of pumping blood throughout his body. Doctors plan to slowly wean him off. Scientists have worked for decades to figure out how to save human lives with animal organs. More than 100,000 people sit on organ transplant wait lists, suffering terrible symptoms and side effects. About 6,000 of them lose their lives every year waiting in vain for someone else's tragedy to provide them with the kidney, heart, or lung. Pigs have similar organs to humans. If those organs could be used to transplant, the waiting would end. People who would never be who would never be considered candidates for transplants, who never make it onto those transplant lists, could look forward to family dinners, playing with their kids or grandkids, and simply going back to living their lives. That's the promise of so called xenotransplantation. And the field took a major leap forward with Bennett's surgery Friday. This is This is a truly remarkable breakthrough, said Robert Montgomery, a transplant surgeon at NYU Langone and a heart transplant patient himself. I am thrilled by this news and the hope it gives to my family and other patients who will eventually be saved by this breakthrough. In September, Montgomery moved the work forward by becoming the first to transplant a pig kidney into a person. But in that case and a subsequent surgery in December, the person had been declared brain dead. Montgomery kept the body functioning via machines for more than 2 days each time, showing that the human immune system would not immediately reject a kidney from a gene edited pig. The Maryland procedure takes what we did in September of 2021 to the next level, Montgomery said. At that point, the race was on. Others in the field were supportive, if a bit envious. We've all been doing this for a really long time. I'm sure it's got to be fun to be first, said Joseph Tector, a transplant surgeon and xenotransplantation researcher at the University of Miami. Tector, who focuses on kidney transplants, said he's waiting until he's confident he can provide reliable, durable results so that when we do it, we can help everybody. This is the part where I am going to get mad at. Animal rights activists object to the use of pig organs. There would be more human organs available for transplant if health authorities assumed everyone was an organ donor unless they opted out instead of the opt-in system. Okay, first of all, no. That is a wrong conclusion. Jewish people and Muslims do not believe that any organ should leave their body. Okay? So, what if they never opted in? Okay? And somebody took out their organs by accident. It would be a big religious nightmare. It would be a brand new religion of war. And I hate to use that term, but it would be. So many people would literally be pissed the F off. And putting an animal above a human, that's wrong in itself. Animals are not humans. Animals are for us to take care of. They are us to nurture, to love. But then there are animals that are for food. If you can't handle it, then you know what? That's your problem. But saying that everybody has to opt out instead of opt in, there would be so much confusion. What about people that have bone marrow disease or heart disease or lung disease or a blood disease that they didn't even know about? Think of the repercussions that would have on people. Okay? Please. Yeah, that logic has no logic. However, ethicists have fewer concerns. Animal trials are essential to begin a new therapy in humans. That is true, said the Reverend Tadus. Okay, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name because I will butcher it, and I don't want to butcher somebody's name. Director of Education at the National Catholic Bioethics Center in Philadelphia. Despite years of research, there are sure to be many more twists and turns along the road of getting our immune system to play nice with implanted animal organs. That's true. He also said, I suspect this is a first step on the journey from yesterday's scientifically unimaginable to today's barely achievable to tomorrow's standard of care. Very true. Bennett, who has been relatively healthy most of his life, began having severe chest pains in October, his son said. He went to the University of Maryland Medical Center with severe fatigue, shortness of breath. He couldn't climb 3 steps, said David, a physical therapist who understood the seriousness of his dad's condition. 2 months of trying to save Bennett's own heart didn't work. A handful of transplant programs either formally or informally rejected him for a heart transplant. He was deemed ineligible for an artificial heart pump because of uncontrollable arrhythmia. About 3,000 Americans a year are lucky enough to get a new heart, and 20% of those who make it to the wait list die waiting or becoming too ill to receive one. Bennett didn't qualify for the list because he had not followed doctor's orders, missing medical appointments, and discontinuing prescribed medications. History has shown that people with that kind of track record don't do well with an organ transplant. At first, Bennett didn't want to participate in the experimental surgery. He had worked odd jobs his whole life: pool repairs, car maintenance, painting, depending on his physical strength. But 2 months in the hospital had made any kind of surgery risky. He didn't want to die on an operating table. But Bennett had a change of heart, his son said, when he realized he would probably never be able to leave the hospital otherwise. He knew that this was his best option, David said. He's a fighter and has a desire to live. Although Bennett has a long way to go, David said he's optimistic about his father's future. My dad has both of his sisters and myself. Don't worry, God is holding my hand, David said, describing his father as a man of faith. Though not tied to any particular religion, I believe there's continued reason to be hopeful. Even if it doesn't change his outcome, the surgery allows Bennett to leave a legacy, David said. Regardless of what happens, I want to help other people. Bennett told his son before the surgery. Bennett had a pig valve implanted almost a decade ago, and bacon is his favorite food. Oh, we all love bacon, bacon, bacon! So the idea of receiving a part from a pig didn't bother him much, David said, although he still hopes he will be able to get a human heart. Sorry. Perhaps after 6 months of showing, he can follow doctor's orders. He'll be a better candidate for a heart transplant, and the pig heart will serve only as a bridge. The last evening I talked with the patient, he said, I really want to have a human heart, said Dr. Bartley Griffith, who led the surgery for the University of Maryland Medicine. I said, I want you to have a human heart. It would drive us crazy to take that nice pig heart out, but it would be your choice. The hardest part of undertaking such an experimental surgery, Griffith said, was talking to Bennett beforehand. You're not afraid of demonstrating to the FDA and to the hospital and to your chairman and to your partners that you're ready because you've got confidence that in yourself, he said. I think the fear is in being honest to your patient. The surgery was experimental and its outcome was uncertain. You've got to tell the patient, and in essence, we're ready for liftoff, Griffith said, adding that others compared him to a shuttle astronaut. But I kept reminding people, we're in the control room. It's the patient who's shot to the moon. Three experiments in one. For years, researchers in Maryland and elsewhere have experimented with implanting gene-edited pig organs into baboons. I have no idea why. We'll probably find out. The University of Maryland Medicine team, co-led by Dr. Mohammed Mahudin. If I butchered your name, doctor, I am terribly sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. This has kept baboons alive for as long as 9 months. When they died of something other than immune rejection, they felt ready to try the procedure on a person. Ooh. Taking care of the patient, said Dr. Mohammed, who directs the University of Maryland School of Medicine. And before people criticize me, I know I butchered his name, and I'm deeply sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry, doctor. I am terribly sorry. I am so terribly sorry. School of Medicine's program in cardiac xenotransplantation, it's much, much easier than taking care of a baboon. Peeling out the procedure required the right patient, a willing volunteer who had no other medical options, as well as support from the hospital system and three separate approvals from the FDA. The hospital and academic institution would not reveal the cost of the procedure, but picked up any fees not covered by insurance. The procedure began December 15th when Bennett agreed to consider the procedure. Maryland officials scrambled to provide an application to the FDA on December 20th requesting compassionate use authorization to proceed. Then they had to answer a slew of questions, including about the pig. The pig provided by Blacksburg, Virginia company Revivicor, Revivicor? Yeah, I think it's Revivicor, which raises pigs for transplant, was genetically modified in 10 different spots before birth. There are 100,000 genes in the pig, Griffith said Sunday afternoon in a Zoom interview along with the doctor. The doctor wants me to believe that by changing 10 of them, we can transplant a pig heart into a human. Are you kidding? You did it, he responded, laughing. 3 genes were turned off that might otherwise have triggered an immediate immune rejection. The recognition of a pig organ is coming from a different species. 6 human genes were added to prevent blood from coagulating in the heart, improve molecular compatibility, and reduce the risk of rejection. 1 final gene was turned off to keep the pig from growing too large. The 1-year-old pig that gave its heart to Bennett weighed about 240 pounds. A standard male pig of the same age might weigh 450, said David Revivicor's executive vice president and chief scientific officer. Researchers learned from studies in baboons that without editing out this growth gene, even an organ taken from a young animal would keep growing. In a couple of the baboons, the transplanted pig hearts grew too big for their chests. We've reached down this road over the last decade, going from 1 gene pig to a 2, to a 5, to an 8, to a 10, and we rationalized each one of those and made modifications along the way. Aris has worked for 2 decades to develop pigs that are suitable for human transplant. Pigs bred to provide kidneys for transplant may need only 1 gene turned off to avoid immediate organ rejection. Pigs bred for their hearts probably need 10 to allow them to function effectively and safely. Revivicor's parent company, United Therapeutics, aims to get into pig-to-human lung transplants, whose pigs will probably need at least that many gene edits. A second innovation aspect of the surgery is the use of an immunosuppressive medication that seems to be essential for long-term survival of transplanted organs. Researchers had used a version developed for baboons, but this was the first time using a humanized version in a person. The third aspect was the box that the heart was placed in after taking it from the pig. Researchers have learned that simply putting a heart on ice, as is done with the human heart, doesn't work in between species transplants. A German team figured out a method of perfusing the heart with nutrients and hormones. And the primates, the hearts just weren't working until they started using that pump. Montgomery of NYU said nobody understands why. Bruno Reichart, a retired German heart transplant surgeon who tested pigs in baboons for years, said he thinks the pig heart probably works better if liquid continually flows through it. But essentially, the proof is that it works. Who is successful is right. Who is not successful is wrong. It doesn't need much more explanation in surgery, he said. The FDA granted emergency authorization for the surgery on New Year's Eve, and it was conducted Jan 7 from around 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Before pig organs can routinely be used in transplant surgeries, all three aspects have to be further tested in animals to meet FDA standards. Revival Corps is building a pig facility that will meet FDA production requirements. Arias said he and others are savoring the moment. This is one of the most exciting things in my 20-year plus Xeno career, he said. If they can provide an unlimited supply of organs, he said, the organ transplant list will probably increase by orders of magnitude as more people who aren't at death's door begin to see transplant as an option. We've done so much work up to this day, he said. We're confident this is going to continue to grow and build and really be the solution. What does success look like? No one has been kept alive before with an organ from a specifically tailored animal. So any survival at all could be considered success. Montgomery said he considers the surgery a success already. The critical thing here is we move this thing out of these endless primate operations, he said. We're now going to get real life data in humans and really understand the state. Now, I am going to end it there because it's almost the end. And if you want to read the article, I will put the link down in my description where you can read it for yourself. But I think it's really awesome that people on the transplant waiting list may have hope. Think of all the lives that could be saved if this were to actually succeed in the next 5 to 10 years. Think about that. Think of all these people who are waiting months, years to get an organ donated to them. Think of how many lives that list could drop from months to years down to weeks, maybe even days. That would literally be awesome. It literally would be awesome. And I hope it works. I really do hope it works. So, what do you all think about that? What are your opinions on that? Personally, I think it's a good thing. Personally, I think it's something that we need. Like I said, leave what you think down in the comments below. You all have a good night, and I shall see you soon.